Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer on reaching your potential. I am absolutely pumped you're here with us today. Look, we're taking a highly pragmatic, totally reality-based look at personal growth right now. We're not just going to sit here and throw around empty, feel-good buzzwords. Instead, we're going to break down the actual, literal mechanics of what it takes to become the person you know you can be. So, if you've been looking for a structured, completely no-nonsense roadmap to leveling up your life, well, you are in the exact right place. Let's get to it.
All right, let's just dive right in with the question. What is the actual difference between simple and easy? Now, I know it sounds like a trick question, right? But understanding this specific dichotomy is basically the master key that unlocks everything else we're going to cover today. It's a really subtle difference, but trust me, it is absolutely essential to your success.
So, think about it like this. Simple deals with the complexity of an outcome. It just means something is straightforward, right? It's uncomplicated. Easy, on the other hand, means you can achieve it without any great effort or struggle. Becoming who you really want to be, that is simple. It's exactly like walking. The physical mechanics of taking a step are incredibly simple, but it is definitely not easy. Hiking straight up a steep, jagged mountain is technically just walking, but it's going to make your lungs absolutely burn and your legs shake like jelly. The actual procedure didn't change at all, just the context did. Okay, moving right along to Section 1, the cycle of growth. You know, the path to reaching your potential is actually fully laid out right in front of you. The catch? Most people just lack a strong enough why to actually walk it. Growth is absolutely not a straight line. It is this constant repeating 5-step cycle. You start by realizing there's more out there, then you acquire the courage to chase it, you inevitably make mistakes, you learn to trust yourself through all those misses, and finally, you celebrate and adjust. So let's break down exactly how each of these gears turns step by step. All right, step 1 is simply realizing there is more out there. Whatever you're doing right now might be totally amazing, but here is the funny reality of human adaptation. Yesterday's massive act of courage eventually just becomes today's mundane status quo. What was once this high ceiling you had to jump just to graze with your fingertips, yeah, that's now the floor you're comfortably walking on every single day. And when you finally realize that, it prompts the single most crucial question in personal growth. Okay, what's next? And the second you ask, what's next? Boom, you immediately hit step 2, the acquisition of courage. Look, yesterday's courage was great. It got you to where you are, but it dropped you at the curb. To keep moving forward, you got to leave those glory days behind and willingly embrace the deep, sweaty discomfort of vulnerability all over again. Think of it kind of like a merry-go-round. You're holding on tight, feeling like you're just spinning endlessly horizontally. But if you have the courage to endure that discomfort and just begin again, you actually shift from a horizontal spin to a vertical ascent. By doing that, you take these tiny little flames of courage in your soul and you fan them into a total wildfire. Now, as you make that vertical ascent, you're going to hit step 3, mistakes. And let's be real, our biology is literally hardwired to resist discomfort and absolutely hate looking foolish. That's exactly why making mistakes hurts so much. But mistakes are the actual curriculum of the climb. Once you realize that the upside of progressing is so much greater than the downside of some temporary embarrassment, you completely liberate yourself. While the rest of the world is busy playing it safe, you are out there playing for the victory. But what happens when you're putting in all that effort, making all those painful mistakes, and getting absolutely no immediate reward? Well, that brings us to step 4, trust yourself. Success heavily depends on just sheer will and raw discipline. It's stepping up to the plate again and again, even on the days you don't bring a single runner home. Those little unglamorous infield singles, they actually matter. It's all about repetition and adjustment. Every single swing you take is chiseling your future self right out of stone in the aggregate. And then we finally reach the finale of the loop. Step 5. Celebrate and adjust. With enough persistence, I promise you, you'll look over your shoulder one day and suddenly see this massive space between where you started and where you are right now. And it is so vital to relish in those small victories. But, and here is the real kicker, once you celebrate, you have to normalize it. That amazing new mountaintop? That's just your brand new foundation. Your expectations upgrade, and boom, you are brought right back to a brand new step 1.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, optimism meets brutal reality.
So, now that we understand the cycle, we obviously need the right mental operating system to run it. And I have to issue a quick warning here. Do not conflate pure, blind positivity with a detachment from reality. In his incredible book, Good to Great, Jim Collins coined the Stockdale Principle. It's based on Admiral Jim Stockdale, who was a prisoner of war in Vietnam for over 7 years.
Stockdale actually survived by holding two entirely opposing ideas in his head at the exact same time. When they asked him who didn't make it out of the camps, his answer was pretty shocking. It was the optimists. The overly optimistic prisoners would say, "Oh, we'll be out by Christmas." Then Christmas would pass. Then Easter would pass. Stockdale noted that those were the people who tragically died of a broken heart. So the lesson? You must maintain unwavering faith that you will ultimately prevail, but you absolutely, brutally must confront the facts of your current reality.
You literally have to juggle both of these at the same time. You've got the big picture, keeping your head in the clouds with this unwavering belief in your destination, versus the small stuff, keeping your feet firmly on the ground with a brutally honest analysis of the facts. There's a famous CEO quote that says, "To succeed, you have to be honest when your baby is ugly." You have to look in the mirror, diagnose the ugly truth of your current situation, and actively fix it. If you can juggle both the boundless belief and the brutal diagnostics, you become completely unstoppable.
Let's ground this concept with someone we literally all know, Michael Jordan. If your big picture dream is to be the next Michael Jordan, hey, that is incredibly inspiring. But your small stuff reality check requires understanding the brutal, real-world commitment that actually took. It meant sacrificing friendships. It meant sacrificing a normal love life. It meant an unrelenting, intense obsession with winning that honestly alienated a lot of people. Dreaming big is a requirement, for sure, but you cannot divorce it from the brutal realities of the sacrifices required to actually get there.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, the power of showing up.
So how do we actually execute this cycle on, say, a random Tuesday morning when we're just exhausted? Well, it all comes down to this one number, 80%. As the old saying goes, 80% of life is simply showing up. And here is the real secret. This is the most true on the days you physically and mentally just aren't feeling it. Seriously, no matter how much you love what you do, there will absolutely be days you just don't have it in you. On those tough days, the expectation isn't that you're going to create something revolutionary or game-changing. Nobody is asking for that. The expectation is literally just that you are the type of person who will sit in front of the computer and start typing anyway. You just get the ball rolling. Believe it or not, when we have to scrape the barrel and use the very last drops of our remaining discipline just to start, that is often when our absolute best work emerges.
Because the honest truth is, you can always be doing just a little bit more. The human default setting is just to seek out whatever's comfortable. But you have this infinite pool of possibility to draw from. For example, taking a creative output from making one video every 10 days all the way up to one video every single day. That brings massive growing pains, sure, but the rewards are completely exponential. When you start pushing your boundaries, you quickly realize there's no actual rule saying you can't push a little bit harder. There is always more inside of you just waiting to be tapped into.
And that brings us to our final part, Section 4, Taking the Wheel.
This right here is the ultimate, non-negotiable engine for all of this growth. Radical personal accountability. Every single day of your life, you have a choice. You can sit comfortably in the passenger seat. Honestly, a quick scroll through social media shows that chronic blame and seeking victimhood is pretty much today's currency. But all that does is create temporary paralysis. It is pure, concentrated self-sabotage. Conversely, you can choose to grab the steering wheel. Being the hero of your own life? Yeah, it requires making hard sacrifices, but it is literally the only way to actually take control.
I absolutely love this realization, brilliantly inspired by Will Smith. It's not your fault where you start, but it's your responsibility to choose where you end up. Let's just be real for a second. Life is fundamentally unfair. We do not all get dealt the same hand at the start, but your reaction to whatever hand you are dealt, that is your single greatest superpower. So how do you actually regain that control? Well, first, you stop losing yourself in the daily news cycle, or expecting some politician to swoop in and fix your life. You stop comparing yourself to what everyone else is doing and realize life is just a race between you and you. And most importantly, you take responsibility even when you are the one who was wronged. Even if you didn't get the promotion you completely deserved or someone treated you terribly, taking ownership over your next step gives you the gift of control. When you delve into the why and truly own both the good and the bad, you grab that steering wheel and you can reroute your destination anytime you want.
So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on today. When things don't go your way, and they won't, are you going to sit back, play the victim, and just shake your fist at the sky? Or are you going to walk out that door, actively look for the light switch, and create the momentum for the life you truly want? The choice is entirely yours. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer on reaching your potential. Now, if you want to keep fueling that internal fire and learning exactly how to take total, unapologetic control of your life, be sure to subscribe to Elmi Motivations. Keep pushing yourselves, and I will see you next time.